Let's see here. Let's see. Is that better? All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name's Taylor. We're going to get started here, but I have a little announcement. I finally figured out a name for my show, Colleen.
What is it?
The Tinfoil Forum.
The tinfoil.
Oh, yes. I just thought it would kind of just be fitting, you know? Everyone associates this with crazy people, so I thought, why not?
That is what I do.
I thought, why not? You know, it's just something that made sense. So originally last week I said we were going to do the Mandela effect, but then I found something cooler, in my opinion, is cool. And, before I say that, I've been asked multiple times, why am I doing this show? And people think I'm actually crazy.
You could be.
I mean, I could be. I don't approach this with a sense of coming off as crazy. But I will answer that question one last time. It's because I like the analytical side of conspiracy theories. And this one's more of a spiritual, and it's kind of like reaching your full enlightenment. And not kind of like totally and completely. This is what you have to do to reach enlightenment. And what happens when you do reach enlightenment.
Well, I would just like everyone to know that, again, I do not know anything about this. So I will be learning straight from Taylor right now. I don't know why she keeps having me on this show, because I'm obviously ill-prepared. However, I guess we'll see if she can convince me of anything.
Is that the game on the show now? Is that I
You,
have to try and convince you?
And you are the believer, and you try to make me believe as well.
I didn't say I believe these things. I just like talking about them.
I think you believe them.
Stop.
I really think so.
Don't come for me on my own show. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about light bodies, and a lot of people don't know what that is. I didn't know what that is up until yesterday when this came across my timeline on Facebook. And normally, I mean, like, my whole Facebook is always conspiracy theories, but
That is a red flag.
I'm a red flag. Let's be honest. Yeah. So a light body is basically, from an actual definition, a series of psycho-spiritual constitutes of living beings according to various occults and mystical teachings. So basically what this does is your body responds to a subtle plane of existence in a hierarchy or great chain of being that accumulates in a physical form. So that made no sense when I read it, so I thought I'd share that one before I actually, you know.
Yeah, could you explain that again?
Okay. Okay, so basically what it's saying is there are monks and people that believe in Buddhist cultures and religion that if you reach full enlightenment, you'll have what is called a light body. And basically it's where your physical body that you live in, skin, nails, all of that, is basically transformed into an actual light source where you've reached enlightenment, henceforth light body.
And Buddhists believe this, or just conspiracy theorists?
No, Buddhists believe this. There's been over 160,000 cases documented in the last 1,200 years of these Buddhist priests going into caves to meditate and then slowly shrinking into nothing. And all that's left is like there's.
And you're sure that's not just them locking themselves in a cave and withering away?
Well, actually, in 1998, there was Reverend Francis Tiss witnessed the metamorphosis of a Tibetan monk that turned into a rainbow body. So basically, the term light body comes after you die. Your Bugatti. No, your body begins to glow. So just a little background on that. It was talking about how, like I said, 160,000 documented cases. Now, these are documented cases.
Okay, so is it, like, the monks document it? Does this happen to the monks?
Are you? No. So the monks are the ones that are actually being enlightened. So.
And then everyone else is like, whoa, that monk just turned into a rainbow.
I mean, in a simple form, yes. So most recently, it was in 1998. He witnessed that. And so basically, an excerpt from that was it says, a few days before Kinpo died, a rainbow appeared directly above his hut. After he died, there were dozens of rainbows in the skies. Kinpo is dying, lying on his right side. He wasn't sick. There appeared to be nothing wrong with him, and he was reciting the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum over and over. According to eyewitnesses, after his breath stopped, his flesh became kind of pinkish. One person said it turned brilliant white. All said it started to shine.
So, let me get this straight. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is just a religion.
No, this is a conspiracy theory.
Wait, but who are we conspiring against?
It's basically, this not only relates to people believe that these are not actual humans that are transforming, that these are.
So Buddhists would believe that this is just them reaching enlightenment.
Yes.
But everyone else thinks that they're just not human. Because
Yes.
they saw it too, but they're not Buddhists, so they try to rationalize it in a different way.
Right.
Okay.
There are a bunch of scientists trying to somehow prove that the way their life affected their bodies differently after death. But it was saying that the first case involved a saint, and he had seen he somehow achieved light body status. And the reason why people think this is like having to do with aliens is because it said he was able to fly in the air as well as transform his body into forms that would frighten evil spirits and demons while transforming them into Dharma protectors. And then it says another one of the steps where you would have actually reached enlightenment was where you would be able to embed your foot deep into a stone before transforming into a light body. Many of these footprints are still visible in the same Himalayan rocks today. Which, I mean, I Googled that, and I saw some pictures, but to me it doesn't look like a foot. It literally just looks like a jelly bean had been, like, slammed into a rock. I mean, it's a big jelly bean. Well, you guys can't see it, but...
I mean, to me, it looks like a foot. It's just, like...
with a
so
shoe
old.
on?
Yeah, like a foot that definitely is wearing, like, a sandal or something, and that's the sandal. That's, like, Dr. Scholl's right there.
They had Dr. Scholl's and Sills back then, you know?
Back when?
Back in those days.
Which day?
Jeez. A long time ago, apparently, because this is 1,200-year-old story. But a name that I cannot pronounce, I'm going to just call him Padmas, was also known in human form as Guru Rinpoche, and may have been the origin of the saying, everything he touches turns to gold.
I thought that was Midas.
Midas? Incorrect. Well, in different religions and histories.
So, see, right here, we have a little bit, we have, well, okay, so Midas in Greek mythology, whatever he touches turns to gold, and they all claim that that's where that came from.
But in Buddhist religion...
It's this guy.
Yes. So that's where history has its conflicts.
And that's why conspiracy theories exist, because everyone has a different theory.
On conspiracies.
Well, not even just conspiracies, just life in general. I was literally just in my core class, and we were just talking about how there's no universal truth, and that there's, like, relative truths that everyone believes to be right. But since there's no universal truths that we can compare everybody's right and wrong to,
It's just like the meaning of life in the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, what is 42's relevance?
I don't know. I've never seen the movie.
Wow. That's awful. Well, basically, it's saying, like, they were trying to find the meaning of life, and how does one decipher what the one singular meaning of life is? I feel like there was multiple meanings to different people.
Well, the thing is, the contradiction with the relativism thing is that you can literally never find out right and wrong, But with universalism, there's no way that any two, well, probably two people could believe the same thing, but, like, you're never gonna convince every single culture and every single person with a different set of beliefs to believe in one universal truth.
That's apparent here because we have two different stories conflicting with each other. But basically, what it was saying was where they believe the saying everything he touches turns to gold. The backstory behind that was when Guru visited the palace of King Trisongdetsen. I'm so sorry for butchering these names, but there's no
Pronunciation.
Yeah. I can't phonetically sound that out correctly. But basically, he went to visit the king, and the king gave him gold dust, which back in his day and age, the currency of the time, and it was customary for greeting people of great power and honor. And obviously, if you're enlightened, I would assume you would be one of those great masters. I would assume so. But when the king tried to give it to him, he said, "I don't need your gold. The whole world is like gold for me." And he basically touched a rock with his toe, and all the king and his disciples who saw and were present there saw the area around his toe turn to gold. And so basically that struck a whole thing with those people on, well, how can I become enlightened? And how can I do this? How can I get to where he is? I want my feet to turn things to gold.
Well, I guess.
But basically, if you want to reach enlightenment, the main part of that is to love everything all the time. I literally love a lot of things, but I don't think I could love everything all the time. Like tests, I don't think I could love. Like, oh boy, I love being quizzed on the things I didn't study for.
I love it.
I love it so.
Well, I
great.
guess if you want to know, who said this? That Kant guy, the old philosopher guy, he said, if you want to do well on a test, you ought to study for it. But if you don't value doing well on the test, why would you study?
Well, with this, I think what they're getting at is like how we were just talking about. In different cultures, it means different things. Like, I guess in American culture, anything that's not easily explained is aliens.
And then in other cultures, they're like, it could be religion. In America, we're like, no.
No, it's aliens. Everything has to do with aliens. So basically, there's like so many different cultures and religions that have basically told the same story just in their way and through their culture. And there's a whole list. But the Tibetan Buddhism, they're still being questioned as to how is this possible? Are they human? You know?
And I would assume there's been no straight answer.
Exactly. Like we were talking about last time, there's no way we're alone in the universe. Maybe some of those almighty beings had come here.
Perhaps.
Led the people, those truly worthy of enlightenment. Instead of like all these,
But that begs the question, are aliens enlightened? Are they like able to enlighten people?
Well, if you think about a typical alien, people think they're like magical beings.
Yeah, I guess
so.
Just from, like, if you're looking at it from like a
stereotypical
Christian point of view, you'd be like, no, aliens can't.
Right. But if you're looking at like
looking at it as anything's possible, I suppose.
If you're looking at it through the tinfoil forum, anything's possible. Yeah. These lenses right here on my face. But yeah, it was like, they're not literally saying, or no, they literally are saying people are turning into rainbows. Like just shrinking down and turning into rainbows. And in some of the videos where you can look online, there would be monks. I mean, yes, they were old, but they were perfectly healthy once they went through their autopsies. Their bodies had literally shrunken down to like the size of an infant and been withered up. And
so you're telling me that the body itself
still
exists after the whole rainbow thing happens?
Right. So if you look at it through a conspiracy theorist eyes, I'm not saying mine in general, but right. Right. if you're looking at it through that, like, yes, you could see where that would be very mystical and not to easily be understood. But if you're looking at it through a religious standpoint, through their religion, it's like, well, that's what everyone is striving for. That's what they want to reach is enlightenment. It's kind of just what happens here. But it's actually just for the Tibetan monks. They're talking about how after you had gone into this cave to meditate, and it says it took about 7 days, that when you were ready and you would come out and to graduate to the next level of your own evolution, that you would push your hand or foot directly into the stone. And this is where the crazy part comes out. It says, once you've reached this point in enlightenment, you could easily flip the stone molecules into time-space and leave an impression behind.
What in the hell? You're telling me that if you step on, like, this Dr. Scholl's print of this rock, all the material from the rock vanished and somehow, like, got exhumed.
I don't think it's just talking about in this foot. Like, once you've reached that point in enlightenment, you could put your own foot on it and move it.
Everything that you displace is, like,
no, it just moves.
Into the time-space continuum.
I'm saying this is what I see. This is what it's telling me. And now I'm telling you.
Like it just cut it out.
Exactly. I don't think it means it literally is pushed into, the fourth dimension like they were in Interstellar. I think they're talking about you can actually move things with your actual being yourself.
So, like, just like how I could walk outside and pick up a rock, except for that it wouldn't disappear.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, it says that, I don't know if they meant 160,000 feet and handprints are in this cave, but it's saying that there's 160,000 of these documented cases.
This is quite interesting.
Exactly, that's why we're talking about it.
I don't know if I'm on board with the whole alien thing yet, because that still hasn't really come into play.
I don't think it's saying, like, oh my god, they're aliens, they're not human, but it's saying they're kind of like a different kind of breed, that they're not just humans, but they're kind of like, like in Greek mythology, there's like demigods. Disabled, no. Like
disciples.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was thinking it would be like a demigod where you're human, but although you still look human, you have the abilities of the gods you believed in. Because when you reach enlightenment, you're becoming a part of Buddha.
I mean, honestly, shout out to when I was in middle school and I loved Percy Jackson and that's all I talked about. And I took the quiz to find out who my demigod parent was religiously, and it was always Zeus.
Oh gosh, I bet you were trying to water bend the water fountain, weren't you?
No, because I have Zeus.
Oh wait, that's Poseidon.
Shooting lightning out of my hands or something. I don't remember. I literally had a whole journal about it. So one day when I go home, I will pick it up, take pictures, and then next year when we return to this show, by God, we will have a lot of information.
You mean by Zeus?
By Zeus, Athena, Poseidon, Hermes, and the rest of them. There will be a ton of info.
Okay, well, anyways, back to what we were talking about. So, yeah, they're basically saying, like, these articles are trying to prove that this is all just religion, and it might very well be just religion, but...
So people who aren't in the Buddhist religion that have witnessed this are like, I'm not a Buddhist, how did this happen?
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's and it's not just Buddhist religion, it's the Buddhist monks that are being able to do this, and they study basically their whole life trying to reach enlightenment. And it was saying that you have to do all these crazy steps, and what seems crazy to us, but when you're in an isolation trying to better yourself and go on a journey through yourself, it seems so much easier for them, and that's why it's so crazy to us that it's happening. or if it is happening. But it's not crazy to them because it's what they're really trying to get at. And that's what they dedicate their whole life to doing.
Well, I mean, it's like a completely different cultural lens. So to an American person, everyone's like, whoa, 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 whoa. But like, if you're looking at it through a different cultural lens, and you're like looking at it more, what do they call it? In Enoch perspective, I think that's what it's called, or whatever. When you remove yourself from your culture and look at it through theirs, you're like, well, it's plausible.
You're in Sociology 121. This is cultural anthropology right here. You should be on top of this.
That's what I'm trying to relate it to, but I already forgot the terminology I had in class today.
Well, yeah, it's basically saying that the 20th century, what they believed 1,200 years ago was so much more based on, not magic, but a mystical sense than what we base it on now as practicality, and what I actually can see is what I believe, or I believe in a higher power that I can't see, but sometimes I get sent signs and such like that. Like, when you believe in Buddha compared to God, Christianity versus Buddhism, it's totally different. You're becoming, a part of Buddha. You're being given his gifts. But in Christianity, you're been gifted with the ability to move on to the next plane of existence. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Buddha weren't saying, like, oh, life is, or everything is about the afterlife. They're saying it's about trying to get there in the best way possible. Like, you need to be there in life in the sense of you're living in the present. Don't focus on the past or the future. You need to focus on what you're doing now, because that's ultimately affects what everything you're going to do. But it was also saying how, and it's not just Buddha people that believe this too. There's a whole list. There's Tibetan Buddhism, Sufism, Taoist, Yogic School and Tantrics, Kriya Yoga, Vedan. Ancient Egyptians also believed this. Hermetic Corpus, and they're all basically transitioning into something more than what you would be able to do if you were just living the life you were living now, like without sin. And I don't even believe they're referring to sin. They're talking about how basically you have to give up your mortal ability to choose and to be what you want to be. Instead, you have to live for, like, the better good of people. Like it was saying, some of the steps you have to do is you have to recite the mantra, perform the mudra and visualization, as well as wisdom awareness, observing the egolessness. So basically having no opinion of something. Like, you could look at one thing, like walk into a classroom and be like, I'm going to hate this class. And that's just like it's just a first instinct for people now. But what they had to do was don't judge, don't base things off of first appearances. Don't
walk into the class and they say, I love this, just like everything else.
No, they couldn't have any opinion of it at all.
Oh, they say, this is a class?
Yeah, basically. And they were saying emptiness and of all the phenomenons, you have to be very aware of your mantra, awareness of thoughts and the primordial states, which means you have to think of things how they've always been, how they've come up to be. And you basically have to just be able to accept your highest levels of abilities. And it's saying that, you know how, like, it says human brains only use, like, 10% of it? It's not literally saying, like, if you were to divide up your brain, you only use, like, this 10% of the part. You use most parts of your brain.
Just not to their fullest potential.
Right. You use it a little here, a little there, and that equals up to 10%. So what they're saying is once you've reached an enlightenment, if we're talking like a scientific term, that you would be able to use 100% of your brain power, and that you would be able to be doing telepathy and clairvoyance, which is basically like viewing into people's lives and seeing just little snippets of things that have happened or will happen.
Well, I think it would be worth it next week to explore how to unlock the extra 90% of our brains that we are apparently not using.
Mm-hmm. Like, have you seen the movie The Lazarus Effect?
No.
Wow, what is up with your movie taste?
I just don't watch all these conspiracy theory movies.
These aren't conspiracy theories. The Lazarus Effect is where they bring things back from the dead, and then they're somehow able to use literally so much more of their brain activity.
Listen, I have great movie taste. My favorite movie of all time is She's the Man, starring Amanda Bynes.
Colleen.
It's a good movie.
Okay.
Nobody will disagree. I'm just saying. Anyone?
Yeah.
I didn't hear no.
Well, it's radio. I mean, they can call in, and I'm sure they could disagree with you.
Call me. DM me on Instagram at Colleen McNichol and tell me if She's the Man is not a good movie. Nobody will do it.
Anyways. But, so basically, the reason all of these stories are coming to tale now are that because we're entering a very unique period where it's basically we've completed the equinoxes and we're moving out of the cycle of Pisces and we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And if you're talking about
Wait.
zodiac signs,
Yeah,
let me finish.
Pisces is supposed to be starting soon. I'm a Pisces.
Pisces is not starting soon. We're not talking about going into the months.
Oh.
We're talking about the axis of the Earth and where it is literally pointing in terms of the zodiac around it.
So,
We've
been in Pisces this whole time and no one told me.
We've been in Pisces for 25,000 years.
What?
We're moving the tilt and axis of the Earth is starting to point towards Aquarius.
Well, I don't want it to point towards Aquarius ever because I'm a Pisces.
Well, you're going to have to wait till we get back through all these other zodiac signs.
Well, I'm going to be dead. It takes 25,000 years to get through one.
Or maybe you'll be enlightened.
Maybe.
And on that note,
I doubt it. I seriously doubt it.
You might be. Maybe you just have to get in terms.
Maybe I'll be cryogenically frozen or something.
Oh, yes, like Futurama. Have you
Until the
seen
point.
that show?
Yes, I've seen Futurama.
Okay, it's just wondering.
It's not sophisticated.
Wow. Coming from my culture. Anyways. But yeah, that's the end of our show. And if you enjoyed, please listen to the other hosts at radiofreeradford.com. You can follow us on our social medias. And what are we going to talk about next week, Colleen? Our brain power?
I want to talk about either Amelia Earhart, which is the main one that I want to talk about, but I think that deserves like an hour show, and I will do my own research. Like, that can be like a special or something.
Okay.
So that's in the works, because I'm going to make it happen, but...
Well, let's ask Tristan. Maybe Tristan will give us a special hour-long show next week.
Perhaps. And if not, we'll just be talking about how to unlock the other parts of our brain.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and thank you for sitting in here with me and Colleen and I on the Tinfoil Forum.
Yeah, everyone can listen to my show tomorrow at 11 if you so choose.
The Cauliflower Hour.
It is not about conspiracy theories. It is about music.
Okay, and on that note, I'll see you guys later.